Hello and welcome to episode 116 of the Mouses Makes Knitting podcast. My name is Mandy. No, it's not. It's Mandy, not Manday. I don't know who she is. Sometimes known as Mouse. This is my co-host Miss Poppy, who is just like disgusted by my lack of professionalism. Sorry, Pops. It's probably going to be a long one today. I've got a couple of finished things to show you. I've had a request to show you all my blanket whips. Why? I've got them all out. They probably haven't changed since last time you saw them, and I'm a little bit afraid that there might be spiders living in the bags. So we'll see how that goes. And then I'm going to very briefly run through the other whips that I'm taking through into next year, and the one that I've been working on in between finishing my two finished objects. Is that clear? That's your itinerary for today, ladies and gentlemen. Right, before I get into that, I'm going to do the admin-y bit at the beginning. I normally leave it till the end, but I'm afraid I'll forget, as this is probably going to be quite long. First of all, the winner of the thank you from the 2000 subscriber thank you has yet to get in touch. It happens sometimes. It's a busy time of year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it, I think I said, until the beginning of January. If I haven't heard from Smiler Babes by the beginning of January, I will redraw. I think that's fair. That will have given her best part of 2 months, really. So yes, that was that. What was the other thing? Ko-fi members Zoom is on Thursday 30th of November at 8 PM GMT. We're back to GMT. And this is a final reminder to get your Stephen West Marathon entries into the Ravelry thread before midnight on the 1st of December. I will be looking at the thread and sorting out, I'm going to have to say the word, winners, very, very shortly after that, and then recording a separate little video showing you my marathon makes this year, and then with your permission sharing some of yours. Okay, I think that's all the admin-y stuff. Shall we get into it then? I hope you're sitting comfortably and that you've got snacks and drinks and something to do, because we may be a while. Though normally when I say we're going to be a long time, we're not. And when I say I've got nothing to show you, I'm just like still here an hour later. Anyway, I have things to show you. And this is the first one. Are you ready? Ta-da! This is my Christmas shawlography. I decided, if you haven't been around, that I was going to spend November knitting a Christmas shawl, because every year I say I'm going to knit a Christmas sweater. Every year I do not knit a Christmas sweater, and I thought I will knit a shawl because I won't get bored. And so I chose this pattern. I knit this when it was the Stephen West MCAL in 2021, I think. And I said then I was going to knit it again. It was my first MCAL. I think it may only have been my second Stephen West. Excuse me. It may only have been my second Stephen West pattern. So I found it a lot easier to knit this time. Bearing in mind I've now knit a lot of Stephen West patterns, and also because I had knit this before. So I started it on the 2nd of November and I finished it on the 22nd of November. So it took me 20 days, and I did take some little breaks in between. I could have knit it more quickly. So here it is in all its glory. I'm trying to fit it all on the screen. It's not very easy. And I promised you that I would go through the yarns this time, because I didn't last time you saw it. The red, that is a Cascade Heritage. It's Christmas red. Couldn't be more perfect really, could it? This is actually a dark charcoal grey. That is from Unbelievable. Its colourway is black, but when you see it against the black, you'll see why I chose it as a grey. I bought this in a destash from Anne from Spa Knits with something else that you might see next year. The lime green, that's my own hand dyed, as is the white. You can't really see because somehow they've all ended up on the wrong side, but the white does have speckles on. It was some leftovers, can't remember what from, I don't remember, but I'll show you what I had left over anyway. Darker green, the emerald, that's also my own. The black, that is Cascade Heritage Night, which is looking quite black there. In some lights it looks a very, very dark navy. So that's all the colours that are in the shawl, and I will move it a little bit closer so that you can have a closer look at all the detail. My apologies for that rustling noise. It was, I've got my notebook on the table and it was catching on it. So it is finished, it is blocked. I blocked it in a very cavalier attitude. We've got one of those big square areas, you put the things up and it makes a square, and I just pinned the top edge round the area and left it overnight hanging, and in the morning it was dry. So yeah, I am so happy with it. I actually had to restrain myself from casting on another Christmas shawl straight away. I want to make it my November tradition. I have plans for next year, and they involve destashing and knitting patterns that I already own. There will be some exceptions, obviously, if I get yarn as gifts or yarn vouchers as gifts. I'm planning to go to the Southern Wool Show again next September, so I'm not going to say I'm not going to buy anything when I'm at a wool show. And obviously Stephen West is bound to bring out patterns during the year that I then want to have, and then there will be the MCAL next year. So with those exceptions, I'm going to try and work from stash, both pattern wise and yarn wise. But I'm not going to be like strict with myself. If I need to order something for a particular project, I'm going to order it or dye it up myself. But it's not to go into stash, it's to be used. That's my rule. So yeah, I love it, and I intend to wear it at some point every day during December, and then I will wash it and block it again and put it away for next year. So that's my first finished object, and honestly I absolutely love it. I have got another finished object, and this you haven't seen for a little while. This is the Shortest Day shawl, and I've neglected to find out who it was by. The pattern will be linked below, and if I remember I'll put it on the screen. No, it's gone completely. I could look, but it means getting up, and I'm barricaded in. I really am. Right, shortest day shawl, and I have knit this with all my Year of Yarn colourways for 2023. So we started in January's, February, March, April and May, June and July, August, September, October, November, and then finally December. And December has done something unexpected. I didn't expect it to do that, but I'm very grateful to it because I cannot, well, I was going to say I cannot stand red and green touching. Clearly I can, because I've just made a Christmas shawl, but it's one of my things, and it makes me, depending on the red and the green, it makes me a little bit, for example, I have this bag. This is red and green, but the green is very tealy, so it's fine. Anyway, my weird nonsense aside, I've been knitting this since the beginning of January. I have knit it each month as I've dyed up the colourway. Actually, if I do it like this, you can see it a bit better. It's knit as a giant tube, and then you steek it. I have never steeked anything before, so I thought this would be quite a good practice because it's my own yarn. If anything dreadful happened to it, it wasn't the end of the world. And, you know, I hadn't spent a billion hours doing colour work and then ruined it by steeking it. So, I originally saw this pattern. Tonya from Calm as a Stitch used it for one of her advents last year. And I will be using it again for my hand-dyed advent this year. Spoiler alert. So what you do is there is a section that is marked off, and that is your steeking area. And then you like take a deep breath and mop your brow like a surgeon, and you up the middle of that area. Well, I went off course a couple of times, but it didn't really matter. I didn't cut through both layers, which was one of my biggest fears. But it did mean, because what you do then, you've got some ends that you unravel and you turn them into a fringe. They were a bit uneven because I'd like wiggled over this way or I'd wiggled over that way. But it was fine. I went through, having cut them, obviously they're all really curly, especially the ones from earlier in the year, because they've been knitted up for like 11 months, some of them. So I went through and I tied two together all the way up each side, and then I washed and blocked it. And again, I just blocked it by folding it in half and laying it over an area. I didn't pin it out or anything. Consequently, the two sides are curling in a bit, but I don't really mind. It's a shawl. It comes in two widths, which then become lengths once you've steeked it. And this is the shorter one. I'm going to do the longer one because really I just wanted this as like a lap blanket and kind of a scrapbook of my Year of yarns for this year. So it served its purpose. So you've got a fringe at either end. Having washed and blocked it, I then went through and gathered up 5 ends and then knotted them so that it's a bit more of an organised fringe. And then I trimmed them all to the same length. So yeah, that's that. Again, I'm really happy with it. It was a very simple knit until you came to the steeking bit, and if I'm honest, that wasn't really that bad because your area's marked out. And yes, I could have been a bit more accurate with my cutting, but it didn't really matter. So that's all fine. So yes, that's 2003's Year of Yarn blanket done. For 2004, I have plans. I have some grand plans, but they may need to be adjusted. I might have to go elsewhere for a few months next year, which will mean I won't be home for dyeing yarn and so on. But just going to wait and see. There's no point worrying about it now. I've just got to wait and see. I do intend to make a blanket with my Year of Yarn yarns again next year, but I haven't decided which blanket. I thought I had, but then I looked at what I was going to do and I might need to make more than one blanket. And that's as much of a clue as you're getting. Right. Having finished those two, I needed something to work on before the 1st of December, because come the 1st of December, I will only be working on my Advent projects. So I'd put 3 projects. I've just realised I was going to show you the yarn from the Christmas shawl. I'll come back to that. I'd put 3 projects on my desk that were hopefully to finish before December. I will get one of them done. I've got, I think, 11 rows left to do. So I'm recording this on Tuesday the 28th. So I've got 2 days to do 11 rows. I'm going to get that done. The other 2, not so much. But it's okay. I have a plan for that as well. Right, let me go back to, this is very, very disjointed, I'm sorry. Right, not all of these were whole balls. I had this much left of the red. That's a fair amount. This is for my Christmas shawl. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. This much of the black, again a fair amount, and this much of the grey. So those 3 were all whole balls and whole skeins, and I've maybe used around half. This one, my own hand dyed, I don't think was quite a whole skein, but I've still got a reasonable amount of that left. And this definitely wasn't, I've got that much of this left. The one that gave me the problem was the white. Again, it was my own hand dyed and it was scraps, and I had this much left of what I originally found, and then I found, sort of scrabbled through everything and found some more. So I've got that much left of however much white there was. I really don't know. I'm gonna say maybe 50 grams in total, but you can at least see, if I hold these up to you, that the white is speckled. Can't really see it on the shawl, which is a bit of a shame, but it used up some scraps. And these, even though they're tiny, will go into one of the blankets that I'm going to show you later. Okay, that's the end of that section. Now I'm going to show you what I've been working on. One of the 3 projects that I put aside to work on through through November, after the shawl, before December, was the Slumber shawl by Stephen West. I started this earlier in the year. It was on my marathon list. Let me see if I can find a picture. I can find a picture. It is, of course, black and white, and it is not very big, so I think you can kind of see how it goes. I'm knitting it because I'm clearly demented. Hang on a minute. And I've been knitting this in the evenings, in lamplight, like I said. Not in full control of my faculties, clearly. I'm knitting it even, in Hobie Winter Glow in the colourway 16, which is pretty much black. It is a black base and it has various colours through it. I hold it up like that. So there's kind of a coppery brown, a navy, a purple. You can see here I'm about to do a navy bit. If I put that there like that. I've got 11 rows to go. The Winter Glow is 51% wool, 49% acrylic, and I have knit this before. This was the very first Stephen West shawl that I ever knit, and I knit it the beginning of 2021. I thought it was earlier than that, but I checked on my Ravelry project pages and it wasn't. It was, I started it in January and finished it in February. The one I've got is purple. I will try and put in a picture, but I can't guarantee I'm going to remember. It comes in a massive ball. It's an Aran weight and it's very much like a hand spun yarn. So I don't know if you can see the colours a bit better there. So it's like you've hand spun a black yarn and sort of added in bits of colour. When you first wear it, it is a little bit itchy, but you get used to it, it settles down. I wear the purple one quite a lot. It's a nice size for wrapping around your neck like a scarf, and it's also big enough to put round your shoulders, you know, just to keep it's the backs of my arms that get cold, and it's perfect for that. It's really cosy. The yarn can feel a little bit challenging while you're knitting with it. If you're someone who can't cope with yarn that gets thick and thin, this is not for you. Because as I say, it's very much like hand spun, and it's like hand spun from somebody who's not quite finished learning how to spin yet, says she who's never even tried it. But yeah, there are variations in the thickness of the yarn. Personally, I love it. But I can imagine that for some people it would be a little bit irritating. So it's hard to show you because it's on a relatively short cord. But essentially you have this central spine. Let me see if I can. So you've got the feather and fan running up the central spine. And I'm now at the stage where I'm putting that pattern in along the bottom edge. There you go. So yeah, 11 rows in the bind off, and that should be finished. Well, it will be, unless I end up not knitting on it. There's no way that's not going to be finished in the next couple of days. So yeah, this will probably be the last podcast of 2023. December is about to become quite busy, and I will only be knitting advents through December, so I won't podcast again until after Christmas. There might be one between Christmas and New Year, actually. Yeah, let's say that. So next time you see that, it will be finished and blocked and yeah, all done. Right, now I can't remember the name of the lady who requested these blankets, but if you want to go back to episode 115 and scroll through the comments to find out who is responsible for the fact that I'm about to torture you with all my blanket whips, feel free. I'm only joking, don't be nasty to her. Right, let me put that away before I lose it, and then I will start. I have 7 active blanket whips. I have 8 in total. Is that right? Yes. I have 8 in total, but one of them is in a box up there and I'm not getting it down. It hasn't had any work on it at all since very beginning of this year, if this year at all. It's a DK acrylic odds and ends blanket that I'm chain plying to make a thick, chunky corner to corner blanket with, and I'm using an enormous hook. And you may know, if you've been around, that I've got problems with my wrist. I've got arthritis in my thumb, I've got tendinitis in my wrist, and it was just too much. So I put it aside in a box, and there it will stay until I'm ready to work on it again. But there are plenty of other blankets. Oh yes. I'm going to start with the one that you saw most recently because it's a new cast on. And I'm going to try not to bore you horribly with this. And I put the pattern away. Let's see if I can reach it. Oh, I can see it, but I'm not sure I can reach it. Look at Poppy for a minute. Oh yes, success. Right, this is the pattern. It's Serdar Jewel spun, and it is design number 10723. And I am using Serdar Jewel spun because I'm a good girl today, in this colourway, which is Sandstone Sunset. I will look at a ball that still has a label on. Bear with. I'm sure it is. Sunstone Amber. I was close. Sunstone Amber. It's got this beautiful, oh, it's not really coming out. That's a really bright, almost neon, corally pink coming up shortly. And I've not done very much. This is my beside the bed knitting. The shortest J shawl has been all year, but obviously I finished that. So now I'm doing this. It's a really, really simple pattern. It is a 6-row repeat. And after having done the first repeat, I haven't needed to look at the pattern again. Hence why it's put away under my desk. So yeah, that's it so far. It's really nice. It's knitting up quickly because it's Aran. I'm loving the colours, even though they weren't what I expected from the listing. I bought it on eBay, where it looked a lot more pink and peach rather than this sort of corals and, well, golds and cinnamony colours. It's fine. Goes quite nicely with my bed linen, so it's fine. That'll do. So that's the newest one, for which there is a pattern. There isn't necessarily a pattern for all of these, but for those that do have a pattern, they will all be linked down below. Right, this is your Triangulum Warning. We haven't had to do that for a while. So if the Triangulum makes you feel a bit seasick, look away. I've been knitting this. The original plan was, I keep having all these grand plans. I've had another one for Advent. I've got 5 Advents. 4 of them are 20 grams. The 5th is 10 grams. And somewhere in my overly ambitious brain, I decided that it would be possible to keep up with 5 Advent projects every day throughout December. And I was in the shower the other morning and I remembered that last year I had 2 and I couldn't keep up with those. So what in the world possessed me to think I could keep up with 5? I do not know. But we'll see what happens. I might just give up sleeping. I might like mainline espresso coffee, and nobody needs that to happen. Right, back to the Triangulum. The original plan last year was to knit a triangle a day, and it would be instead of a temperature blanket. I'd done a temperature blanket the last couple of years before I started podcasting, and I was a bit over temperature blankets, but I wanted something that I could fish out every day and just spend some time on. Each triangle takes me 40 to 50 minutes, and I knit it religiously every day last year until May the 20th, I think. So that's not bad. I managed nearly 5 months, and then I was so fed up with knitting tiny triangles that I put it away. What I did this year was I got it back out on May the 21st, and I continued knitting 1 triangle a day until the 28th of July. So I have 209 triangles in the blanket so far. I gave it up in July because I really wasn't very well, and I was sometimes taking all day to knit 1 triangle, and it was just, I wasn't enjoying it. I had very limited energy for knitting, and I felt like I was wasting it on a triangle when I could be doing something a bit more productive. So this is your very last triangle warning, Triangulum Warning. I'm about to hold it up. Close your eyes, I will tell you when it's gone. Right, it's got to the stage where it's a bit difficult to show you. So there's this much. I don't know what you can see at all. And what I've been doing is choosing at least 2, sometimes 3, sometimes as many as 6 colours, and then knitting a hexagon. So each triangle within the hexagon, this green one here, that is 1 day. Poppy hair, they're everywhere. Everywhere. She looks really quite scruffy at the moment because she's getting her winter coat, and she's got long guard hairs, and she has achieved maximum floofiness with her undercoat, and so she just constantly looks like she needs a good brush. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. So that's how I've been planning the blanket, and you can see that this one, I know, this was my Easter. This was done around Easter because these were colours that reminded me of like Cadbury's mini eggs. New ones that you haven't seen, I am marking with a stitch marker. That seemed like a good idea at the time when you were seeing it once a month. But yeah. This yarn here, this was one of the very first hand-dyed yarns I bought. I think it was only the 2nd ever hand-dyed yarn I bought. Some of the yarns in here, I remember what they were used for. Some were scraps or minis given to me by friends because they weren't going to use them. So this square, where are we? Here it is. This is the very first hand-dyed yarn I ever bought. This is West Yorkshire Spinners Silent Night. I don't know if you can see it's sparkly. That I test knit the Fay Moraine shawl for Penny Baker in. And this blue, I'm pretty sure was from a Ducky Darlings set. Some of them I remember. Right, I'm going to put it away now. Let me fold it before I give you the all clear. Okay, it is safe to look again now. It's going back in the bag. So what I plan to do is next year, I still want there to be the equivalent of a triangle for every day. So in next year's diary, I'm going to mark off, what did I say, the 28th of July, and then work from there onwards. I might have a day where I knit it all day. I might not touch it again for a week, but I want to get the 365 triangles in there, and then see if I'm gonna add in tidying it up triangles to make it a regular shape, because obviously knitting it in hexagons, they don't always, you know, you've got a gap, and so we'll see how that goes. That's the plan for that. Okay, this next one, this is the Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart, but I'm not necessarily knitting it, oh, another one fell out, according to instructions. I don't have a lot of it. I have some. I found it, I'll be quite honest, it's a bit of a boring knit. I changed the pattern slightly. I'm putting on I-cord edge, just so I don't have to go back and put an edging on. And I did here, in that section there, forget to put any eyelets in, because I wasn't paying attention. But I'm knitting this. This is all yarns dyed by my friends. The brown here was a mini from a sock set from Alex at My Yarny Corner. The green, that was a birthday present from Caroline at Aria Bark. She and Andrew dyed that. The grey was from a sock set from Amanda at Little Lycac, and the one that's currently going in, this was Daffodil, and it was from Denise at Dear Designs. I think I won this. I think I won it in the Year of the Sock last year, and go in there. I knit some socks with it, I'm sure I did, and that was what was left. So mostly what's going into here, let me just catch what's escaped. Oh, that was another Alex one, that's Licorice All Sorts, that I made a hat back in the summer. Mostly what's going into here are leftovers, but there are a couple of larger balls. Earlier this year, Alex and Danny from My Yarny Corner tried a Patreon, and at my tier you got a mini skein a month, and I was knitting a blanket with them, but when I realised they stopped doing the Patreon, and I realised I didn't really want to add anything into that blanket, so I pulled that down to add what was in that blanket to this blanket. So that's kind of a magic knot ball of several months worth of minis. And then I have these two that are relatively exactly the same, and these were leftovers from my advent from Amanda at Little Lycac last year. So I magic knot balled those as I went along, and they will go into this as well. And then I've got loads of other odds and ends from my friends, either stuff that I've knitted or, you know, leftovers from things that I've knit, or minis that I've bought, or whatever. So I call that my friend's habitation throw, because it's being made with friends yarn. I need to get a move on. It's 38 minutes now. Right, this one I am absolutely loving knitting. This is Bits and Bobs by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. I'm holding a coloured yarn together with an undyed, and the undyed is a pack of undyed yarn that Ewan gave me for Christmas last year, I think. So I make sure that that goes into this blanket. It doesn't go into the shop, it doesn't get dyed up into anything else. It's all special, and it's all going in this blanket. And the idea is to do it in a rainbow of my own hand dyed. So there's pink there. The pink has some purple flecks in it. I can't remember what I called that. It was one from quite early on where I was still just playing around. Then I'm adding in purple. The purple, where are you? Sorry, you're getting to see the top of my head a lot this episode. The purple is iris. So it's also got some pink, some yellow, some grey in it. I didn't want them to be flat, solid colours. Then there'll be a blue. And as you can see, the blue has got some purple in it. That I don't especially for this. Oh. What comes after blue? I can't remember if it's yellow or green. Green, I think. That's one that I just played with a whole load of greens and threw them all in, and I'm looking at that now. I'm thinking, do I actually want to put this in the blanket, or would I rather keep it for something else? That might get swapped out for a different green. Then there's yellow. This is a little Lycac colourway. It is January 2022's Mystery Sock Club Thumbelina, and it is yellow, and that's a lot darker than it is in real life. Teals, there's like a peachy colour. Then orange, this is Sunshine, one of my own. And for red, I didn't really want to go red, so this is, I can't remember if this was Passion. I think this is Passion. So it's reds and pinks, but kind of corally reds rather than pillar box. So that's the bits and bobs. It's comfort knitting, I call it, because I just knit. Oh, I've got a marker in there from where you saw it last. I can move that now, can't I? I just knit, and it's really nice when you don't want to concentrate too much, but you don't want to be completely switched off either. It's a very enjoyable project, and it is making a very lovely, very squishy blanket. I did cast on more stitches than the pattern suggests because I'm going to use more colours and therefore make it longer. So just to balance the proportions a bit, I cast on more stitches. Have you all fallen asleep yet? Because we've still got quite a few to go. When I look at my statistics on YouTube, it tells me how long people have watched for. I'm willing to bet not many of you have made it to 43 minutes and 5 seconds. Right, this is going to get rustly. Scrap blankets. Prepare yourselves. Oh, look, I found all sorts of things in here. Look. Various sets of needles. Oh gosh, is that attached to something? No, it can't be. What are you? I don't even know what. Oh, yes I do. Oh, I could have done with that. Right, I'll put that away in a minute. This is about the 4th incarnation of this blanket. It started off as Tunisian crochet, and then I put it aside for so long. The first version, I was very, very new to Tunisian crochet, and my tension changed. It improved as I learnt what I was doing. Then I put it away for ages because I didn't like it, and then I pulled it down and redid it. Then I put it away for even more ages, and I thought, well, my tension's going to have changed again now because I haven't done it for so long. So I pulled it down again. And this is what we've ended up with. I'm making a corner-to-corner blanket in my commercial sock yarn scraps, and I'm doing it in strips. The reason I'm doing it in strips is that I want each yarn to have a chance to show itself off. If I did squares, I might not have enough for a whole square, and then it will be bitty, and I don't like that. So I thought this was a compromise. Do it in strips. And then each yarn gets a chance to show itself off. There is no pattern. There is a tutorial for corner to corner crochet. The one that I use is Alex's from My Yarny Corner. Hers shows you how to do one of the blankets that I'm going to show you next. In fact, more than one of the blankets I'm going to show you next. But any corner to corner crochet tutorial, it's about the only crochet that I am confident in. So I'm going to call it idiot proof, because I am, yeah, one of those. Let's take out of this bag all the things that don't need to be in there. Don't know why they are in there. Don't know why they are in there. Yeah. Anyway, so that is commercial sock yarn scraps. I've got to be a bit careful how I do this. This is, oh my goodness. Oh, don't unravel. This is going to get very messy very quickly. That's a bit from my sweater. Right. I think this is just stuffed with yarn. Yes, it is. Let's put you in there. That's where you belong. This is all small scraps to go into the next blanket I'm going to show you. No, that's scraps as well. Where's the blanket gone? It's underneath the other one. Why are they in there then? Oh, they're the ones I've used. I remember. This is what happens when you put projects away for months. See, I'm very organised about this, but what is my organisation? I don't understand. Right. This is what I'm using those teeny tiny scraps for. I very, very, very much wanted a Battenberg blanket, but I know very well that I will not sew all those tiny little squares together. So I compromised. This is my fake Battenberg blanket. The original, I think, is by Sandra from Cherry Heart Crochet. Is that Sandra Paul? I don't really watch crochet podcasts unless it's a tutorial that I'm particularly needing. So yeah, that's what I'm doing here. Fairly self-explanatory. A coloured square, a white square, a coloured square, a white square, and I've got that much, and many tiny bits of wool. I can't remember how many grams, but I think it's less than 3. I think it's 1 and a bit for each square. And obviously I'm just using an undyed. And I'm trying to be random. I'm not very good at random because I must have control. I'm trying to be random about what colour goes where, whilst at the same time not putting two the same together. I don't ask much of myself really, do I? So that's my teeny tiny scraps blanket. And then, and this is the one that I started, that I watched Alex's tutorial for. This is my large scraps blanket. So you might recognise some of these. This is all join as you go, which is perfect for me because of the aforementioned dislike of sewing anything up. This is My Yarny Corner. It is Toil and Trouble on High Twist. That's a Cascade Heritage. That's February. That's one of my own. That is a lime green of my own. That's January. This one, I know it went into my Starflake shawl. Can't remember. That's 2 of my own. I'm fairly sure they were in my Eyelet Burst. That one's also from my Starflake shawl, as is this, but that's Cascade Heritage. This one was, I'm fairly certain, one that Amanda gave me for Christmas that also went into my Eyelet Burst. That is one of my own, that's June. That's my own, it didn't have a name, it went into my Vertices Unite. Cascade Heritage. Some more of the Daffodil by Denise. That's one of mine, Vertices Unite. And again, one of mine for the Vertices Unite. And another Cascade Heritage. Can't remember, is that? Might be Ultraviolet, I think. Can't swear to it. So, this is the width of the blanket. I've already established that, and now I'm just filling in rows. When I do get to work on this, I absolutely love it. The little one can be a little bit, you start square, then you finish, and then you start square and then you finished. It's so quick, it takes like 10 minutes a square. This is a bit more to get your teeth into, so of the 2, I probably prefer working on this one. And again, I've got loads of scraps to go into that. And then on into other blankets as and when. Who doesn't love a scrappy blanket? Right, we're coming close to the end. If you're still with me, congratulations. This I am really, really disappointed with myself over. I'm sorry, there's about to be some crinkling. This is the Star Blanket. It is a Stephen West design, and it was part of my Stephen West marathon list for this year. It was also my entry into Caroline from the Aria Bark podcast Star Blanket Mal, which runs until the 31st of December, but I'm fairly confident in saying it will not be finished by then. I don't even remember where I'd got to. Oh, not very far at all. Here we are. Yeah, if you look at the picture, I'm not even halfway. Once I finish this section, once I have finished this section, there will be brioche. Yes. I'm very disappointed with myself because I went into this all gung-ho and excited and ready for it, and I don't know why it got abandoned. I would imagine my magpie tendencies took over and I saw something new and shiny and forgot about this. But yeah, I will get this finished. It's probably a good time to mention the fact that 1st of January to the 31st of March next year, Belinda from Belinda's Baubles and I are running a topping off mail for finishing up stuff that you have carried over into that year. As long as it's cast on before the 31st of December 2023, you can enter it. This definitely qualifies. As do a whole load of other things, which I'm going to tell you about very briefly in a minute. So there are 4 colours in this, as you can see. I rather wish, well, I don't actually, because I quite like it as it is. I was going to say I'd wished I'd substituted the paler grey and the darker grey, because the gold against the grey would look good. But I've got a feeling that might be my brioche section, so I'm not going to say too much. I think these are all Stylecraft. Oh no, 3 of them are Stylecraft. The pale grey is warm grey. The darker grey is graphite. The gold is predictably gold. And the cream I'm using is Hayfield Bonus DK in shade 0963. It's just a really nice, warm, it's almost an I'm losing the ability to speak. Almost an apricot rather than a cream. It's a lot warmer than it looks on camera there. So that, apart from the one that is tucked away, and we're not going to be looking at, that is all my blankets. I bet you're sorry you asked now, aren't you? It is not, as you know, all my whips though. Fear not, I'm not going to show you them all, but I have prepared a list. So this is the list of whips that I'm taking into 2024, and there will probably also be, bear in mind, 5 Advent whips, because I don't think I'm going to be able to knit 90 grams of yarn every day through December. I'm going to try, and of course each pattern may not need the whole 20 gram, so we'll see. Maybe I can, we'll see. Right, I have got 4 shawls left, well, 3 and a cowl. I've got Painting Bricks, the Slumber shawl, which is almost finished, and the Eyelet Burst. They are all Stephen West patterns. And then I've got the Midsummer Haze cowl, which is, I think, a Hoagie Locatelli pattern, and which I really, really wanted. And why I haven't finished it, I don't know, because I would have worn it loads already. So that's my bad. I have got 4 mitts stroke hats. There's the totally cabled mitts, absolutely stunning. Really struggling to get back into the very complicated pattern. When I knit the first mitt last year, I flew through it. Once I got it set in my head what I was doing, I've struggled with it this year, and so I've done about that much. I've got a sock tube, which is going to be mitts and possibly socks. A Mustelborough, which is for my brother for Christmas. That is very nearly finished. And my own Christmas hat, which may or may not get finished. We'll see. Then there are 5 tees still on the needles. A Summer Sorbet. What I'm calling my Autumn Sonnenstunden, because it's done in autumny colours. And what I'm calling my Autumn Summer Sorbet, because again it's done in autumnal colours. The Saltmarsh Cove that you've seen recently, which is like very bright, what's the word, rainbow colours. And a pink Sonnenstunden that I started back in the summer last year. So some of those I'm going to want really for spring and summer this year. So they're, when we start them out, they're going to be the ones that I try and finish first. Then there is the infamous Rustling Leaves sweater, which has sat in a bag for a year because I'm knitting it. The colour work is beautiful. I love the colour work. It's the only reason I've not pulled it down. But I've kind of gone off the grey that I'm knitting it in, and the fit is not great. Last year I did a lot of colourwork sweaters, and they by necessity have round yokes, and it just doesn't fit me. You can probably see this is the slimmest part of me, and so a yoke that just increases, what's the word I'm looking for, at a regular pace, I end up with far too much fabric up here because of what I need to go around my bust. And then under my bust I slim back in, so I end up with a big baggy jumper that just isn't very comfortable. So that's why I've stopped knitting colourwork jumpers, because I've been knitting those that have a raglan sleeve, and that doesn't really work with colourwork. So yes, there's that still on the needles, and I'm willing to bet that may not get touched. I'm not pulling it down. I do want to finish it, but I'm not looking forward to wearing it, and so that's not giving me any encouragement to finish it. 2 cardigans, the Vodka Lemonade and the Sonnenstunden cardigan. And then that gives me 16 projects in total. If you add the now 6 blankets, I thought I had 7. Hang on. Yeah. Can't count. 7 blankets. And 4 pairs of socks. That gives me 27 projects in total. 25 of which, probably 24 of which, will be going through into next year. When I finish something, I am highlighting it, so you can see there's only one at the moment. I'm not going to put all those patterns down below because I've shown them all in previous podcasts when I've cast them on, and it will take me like 3 days to edit it otherwise. So if you're interested, have a look at the description boxes in previous podcasts. They're all there. So yeah, that's everything. I have gone over the hour. I don't think I've ever gone over the hour before. And it's probably going to take me another hour to tidy up this room and get it into a condition where I can join Zoom as I'm supposed to have done probably an hour ago, and try and get this slumber shawl finished. So yeah, that's probably it, as I say, until I will try and do one the week between Christmas and New Year to catch you up on all my Advent projects and anything else that I might have finished. Oh dear, I do live in cloud cuckoo land. So until then, I'm going to say, sorry, I'm scratching my leg. That's very rude when I'm talking to you, isn't it? Stop scratching your leg, Mandy. I'm going to say bye for now. I'm over the hour. I do apologise. Poppy is sleeping. She's been sleeping a lot, sort of like up the wall, standing on her head. But she is at least sleeping in an ordinary cat fashion today. I think it's because there's a radiator behind this chair and she's catching the warmth from the radiator. Anyway, shut up rambling, Mandy, and go away. You will notice I have not yet cut the fringe. We're doing well. We are doing well. I had to buy some hairspray, but I haven't cut it. There is still a bit. This is my neck fringe, look. I've got tangent. This is my baby hair at the back of my neck. My hair is much, much longer than that, but this hair never gets any longer. It's funny sort of baby hair. And I've got a hairline at the back, you don't need to know this, that comes all the way down to my shoulders in 2 points. It's very annoying. When I had very, very short hair, I used to have to get the hairdresser to shave it. So, that's today's extraneous hair information that nobody wanted to know. And I'm going to go away because I really need a coffee. And I will say, hope you're well. I hope you're all prepared for Christmas. And if you're not, doesn't matter. It's a day. It's one day. And in previous years, as you probably know, if you've been here for previous years, Christmas is not my favourite time of the year. I struggle with it for various reasons. But this year, I decided to throw myself headlong into it from the 1st of November. And as a result, I have finished all my gift shopping. I'm going to be wrapping gifts tomorrow. And then I don't need to worry about it again till it's time to get the food shopping in. It's working for me this year. Previous years I've tried to ignore it and it doesn't go away. So this may be the better way. Anyway, Ewan has come downstairs. I'm going to try and nobble him to get me a coffee. And I will see you probably after Christmas. Bye guys, take care.